So yesterday we had our image critique. We had 54 submissions, which is fantastic for our first time. We selected 10 of those 54, and then we included a couple of our own images. The judges that we had, Jennilyn Proulx with Jennilyn Proulx Photography and Alana Lange with Alana Lange Photography, are the voices that you'll hear, mine and Alana and Jennilyn. When I screen captured the Zoom call, I only screen captured one screen on my computer, and I had the grid with everybody's faces on my other screen. In hindsight, next time I will include both screens on my screen recording. Enjoy the image critique. So this is the first one that we're going to critique. Should I say who submitted it, or should we just critique it?
Let's say who submitted it.
Okay.
Don't you think?
I think so, especially, I mean, they're really good. We wouldn't have put you on here if we didn't feel like there was something good about your images. So this one is by Michael Goetz. He's based out of Brigham City, I believe. I mean, he lives 2 doors down from me, so yes, he is based out of Brigham City.
Based out of Brigham City then.
So I'm gonna let Jennilyn and Alana, Alana, why don't you start first with what you told me you liked about the lighting?
Well, I think this one caught my eye because I love all the places on her face where the light touches. I think it does a really good job highlighting, you know, the delicacy of her nose, her upper lip, kind of the mysteriousness of her eyes. I really, really love the lighting, and then I love how it kind of fades out into the dark. It just kind of intrigues you, it kind of pulls you in. So I think the lighting on this was done really well. I think he has her positioned like in a really good position to catch all that. You know, even if she turned her head an inch towards the other way, you're not going to get that. So I think you did a really good job with the lighting, hitting the right part.
Yeah.
I like it.
I agree. Jennilyn, do you want to add something?
Yes, sure, I would love to. I agree with what Alana said. The lighting is perfect. It complements her facial features, and that 45 angle light, that ambient light coming in right at that 45, and it's just really perfect. But because of that shadow that you're going to get in that background, you do want to have the whole circular idea. Your eye needs to go all the way around, and it starts to get stuck at her hand placement. So where her hand placement is on the window, it's just too close to the edge for me. I think if she were to bring it back in closer to her body, or to the right side of the window there, I think that would round it out and you wouldn't be just drawn to the hand. Because the hand is the second thing that I do notice. You do notice that pretty light coming in at first, and then her hand right there, it stops you. And so you want to keep your eye going around in a circle on a portrait, and it just stops. And so I think to help that, if she would have just brought her hand in a little bit more closer, it would have just rounded it all out. And overall, I think it's a beautiful shot.
I completely agree with that. The hand kept catching my eye. It kept going.
Yeah, and it just stops you. You want to keep that flow going around a photograph.
Maybe if she stood closer to the window, and so she had a little more bend in her arm, and she's able to drop that hand down a little bit more, I think that would help too. But yeah, that hand extended too far out and too close to the edge of the picture. So I completely agree with that.
And one thing that I noticed that we kind of talked about a little bit, we've reviewed these in advance so that we kind of have a little bit of an agreement. I hate this little knob right here. You've got the old brick, which is gorgeous, and then you've got this modern window. And that, I think we could have edited out, just cloned that out really quickly. I don't know.
That's the easy fix.
Yeah. And I can complain about it because that's my studio.
Yeah, this is all your fault. This is your fault, Amber.
I should have kept in those vintage windows.
Get rid of that window ASAP.
Yeah, I knew it. But yeah, and then I do love how, like, if we were to pull up the histogram on there, he's lost some of the shadows, but I can still see brick. So if we wanted to maybe pull back, whoops, sorry, wrong way, and just bring maybe a little bit more, but then obviously we're blowing out the highlights in her cheek. But if we could get a little bit more of the brick in the background, because we've clipped some of our shadows here, but he's kept his highlights really nice, maybe a little bit of a burned highlight right here, but not anything you couldn't fix, or that it doesn't even really bother me.
But, and Mike's not in here to ask questions, so I guess, can you guys raise hands in here if anybody has a question? Okay, then we're gonna move on to the next one, unless Jennilyn or Alana has another.
No, I think we were in agreement on the hand
Okay.
issue, yeah.
Okay, perfect. So I'm gonna X out of it so I don't accidentally come back to it. Okay, this is another one from Michael Goetz. Jennilyn, do you want to start this time?
Sure. So overall, I do think this is really pretty. It is sharp where it needs to be on her eyes. It does look really great there. I do feel like there's a little over softening of the skin. I don't know if that's just her natural skin. It doesn't seem like it. It seems like it is a little over processed on the skin. But I do really like the fact that if you zoom back out, so obviously there's going to be some swatchy light here, and he perfectly made it so that none of it is on her face. Sometimes I don't mind if there's spots, especially on the hairline with hair lights and things like that. But where he kept those completely off her face for the most part, I really, really like that. So I would maybe just, to improve on this a little bit, I would maybe just bump up the exposure on the face a little bit, just because it does seem dark compared to the hot spots in her hair. But the fact that there aren't hot spots on her skin, I appreciate that.
I agree with that. When I look at this photo, her hair, I love the light on her hair. It looks really warm. I wish that her face and her arm and her skin had more warmth.
Yeah.
So just a little bit of Photoshop or Lightroom work on that to bring in some warmth in that area. But I mean, it's a beautiful photo, yeah, and nice and sharp.
And one thing I didn't notice until just now, this little spot right here. It's probably a pole or something, just this right above her head.
But see, if you don't notice it offhand,
right?
Yeah, it doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
It's bothered you.
It's not completely obtrusive.
Yeah.
Okay. Does it bother you at all that her front eye is more in focus than her back eye?
Well, if one's going to be in focus over the other, it should be the one.
Right.
And I don't think it's that big of a difference. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, and there's Chris. Chris, we will unmute you when we pull your picture up. Okay, so there's that one. We're gonna cut out of that one. Oh, speaking of, this one is Chris's, so I'm gonna unmute Chris. If it will, let's see. Oh, did we lose her? We may have lost her. Okay, well, oh no, you're right there still.
There you go. Now she's unmuted.
Say hi for us.
Hi there. I'm in Carlisle through Yellowstone, so.
Well, fun. You're having more fun than us.
I've had fun, for sure.
Okay, and this is Chris's image. Should we just go back and forth? Let's see, Alana,
Sure.
do you want to start this one?
Sure. I think you did a great job with the posing. I love how everybody's kind of interconnected. You've got them all kind of touching each other. Maybe where the mom's hand is on the son's shoulder,
Right here.
maybe just slide her fingers down so we're not having just a few little sausages up on top of the shoulder. And then for my personal preference, I would maybe move some of the props out of the picture, just so that it can focus more on the family. Maybe move a few of the greenery out. But the light's pretty, looks good, positioning's great. It's a nice photo.
Jenny.
No, I agree. I definitely agree with everything that Alana just said. I do love the curvature, like it does take you all the way around. You see everybody evenly. The hand that bothers me though is actually the son on the right. At first I thought it was the dad's hand, and I'm like, wait, his hand is backwards.
Yeah.
So that hand is the only hand I probably really would have made sure to move. And then just a personal preference as well is that I make sure everybody has their thumbs out when they're putting their hands in their pockets. So
Yeah,
soft on the
yeah.
far left.
I
Yeah,
don't, the whole hand in the pocket looks like you cut a hand off. If you gotta keep a thumb out. Yeah.
Yeah, but you notice the son on the far left, how he has a thumb out. It looks completely different than the other two sons that have their thumbs in. It's just those little tiny things can make such a huge difference.
Mhm.
But overall, I think this is a beautiful photo as far as the exposure. The composition is great. But really, I feel like I'm just being nitpicky on this because I think it's a really great photo.
Yeah. So I kind of wonder just a little bit if it's not all the way in focus though. But it's not, it's not bad enough that it bothers me. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, I'm like right here in this.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Nice nose, Jennilyn. But it's just a little bit soft. And I don't know if maybe pulling them, it's the same level of softness as the door. So I don't know if pulling them away would make them look sharper in relation to the door.
Yeah.
They almost kind of just match too much with the door. So pulling them away from it a little bit maybe would help with that a little bit.
Yeah.
And then I agree with Alana moving the props out of the way. And then it's a little crooked on the horizon. It's not a horizon line, but your verticals need to be vertical. And then that would lose the top of the light up there too. But yeah.
Yeah, I always prioritize the vertical because your horizon can always be skewed no matter what, but your eyes want to go straight to this vertical line versus, because when you look back on the floor, I'm pointing like you guys can see what I'm looking at, but on the floor, then after you skewed it, it made the floor a little uneven. But yeah, I always give priority to the verticals.
Yeah, just even that much just straightens it out a little bit. Yeah,
no, it's a great image though. I love it.
Okay, good job, Chris. I have to brag because she's one of my photographers.
Oh, there you go.
Good job. Okay, then we've got, this one is Eric's. So I'm going to unmute Eric.
There we go.
There we go. Okay.
There.
Whose turn is it? I lost track.
Jennilyn.
Hey, overall, I really love this photo. I love the composition of it. I love the mystery in the story behind it, the textures. Only thing I want a little bit more of is a little wow factor, a little pop of something. So if we kind of, in post-processing, if we kind of bumped up the saturation a little bit, I think it's a great photo. I just think it would elevate it just that much more.
We had talked about adding a little bit of contrast.
There you go.
And it's an action that I have, but you can just bump your contrast out even without an action. But I think pulling in
I think that just took it from a great photo to
pulling in your shadows here and your
I want
highlights
it
here.
in my house. I would frame that.
That's exactly what I said earlier to Amber. I'm like, I kind of want this photo framed in my house. So it was one of my favorites. When I was looking through them, I'm like, I love it. I love the abstract of it. But again, bumping up the contrast, or I even said, what about in black and white? More of an intense black and white might look really cool. And then bump up the contrast even on that. I don't know, you may be losing some of the horizon, but that was one of my favorite photos.
I like the color.
You like the color?
You like the color better?
I think if we just bump up the saturation, it just takes it from great to even greater. And I would totally print that and put it in my house with that contrast and color pop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
so the cool thing about, when you say bumping up the color or the saturation, just even whenever you bump contrast anyway, it automatically bumps.
Yeah.
So I'm just pulling my darks in darker and my whites in whiter, and that by definition is contrast.
Yeah.
So you don't even need a fancy action. It's just.
And I love how it's broken up into the thirds. In the bottom third, we have the erosion. The middle third, we have the water. Then the above, we have the sky. It's a cool photo.
Yeah.
I really like it.
And like I said, the mystery of what's going on in the second third, I love it. I think that's really,
Where is this, Eric?
It's actually out at Spiral Jetty.
Okay, that's what we were thinking.
And it's an aerial. It's taken by a drone.
Oh, okay.
So if you see, I actually edited out people, and you can see a couple of reflections in some of the ponds where I didn't get them all.
Oh,
To the right of the screen right here.
so it looks good.
So right
Oh,
above
right
where
here.
your cursor is. Yeah, right there.
Oh.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, but you have to zoom in to really find that because
And you can,
even the reflections blend in very well to the
Yeah.
symmetry of what's naturally going on.
And I would have not guessed that it was an aerial. It just looks like these are like you're standing right here
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
until you zoom in and see, whoops, wrong way, and see how small the people's reflection are.
Yeah. It
That's,
could be like an I Spy photo.
yeah.
oh yeah.
Find the
I
dead bird.
spy some people in
Yeah.
this. Where are they?
Yeah, that one's really cool. We liked that one a lot.
Good job, Eric. I approve.
Thank you.
Really good.
Okay. So then this one, and I don't see her. Oh, I'm going to mute you again. There we go. Okay. This is Stephanie Quintero, and I don't see her on here, but Jennilyn, do you want to start on this one?
Sure.
Or did I do that right? No, Alana.
Oh, no, I did the last
I
one.
can do whatever.
Go for
Want
it,
me to
Alana.
go?
Yeah.
Okay. There are just a couple issues with the posing. So the little guy in front, it just looks a tad awkward with him. I know it's probably like, hey, everybody hug together, and he probably reached back to hug his mom. And so maybe releasing his arm, maybe holding her hand, having her arm do something, not just touch his shoulder, maybe put his hand in his pocket. Just kind of play with the posing on that just a little bit. I tend to like to pull my clients away from backdrops so they're not right up against, like the barn or whatever backdrop you got.
Chris.
Yeah, you create a little bit of a depth of field there with them when you pull them out. Maybe Photoshop the blue rope out at the bottom. That's kind of easy.
Oh, I can't hear Alana. Can you guys hear me?
No, I just lost her too.
Ah.
Oh. Oh, Eric just said he lost the audio as well.
On all of us.
I can hear you, Amber.
And I can hear Alana now.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Just on Alana. Okay. And she.
So what do you think, Jennilyn? Did you hear anything?
Yeah, I heard the first part, just the last part you trailed off there. But I would agree with what you were mentioning. Something that I do like about this photo, though, is that there is a little bit of foreground. There's a start here. There's a start where we can start looking at the foreground. So maybe in order to bring that foreground up more and make it more interesting, she could have crouched down a little bit more. You don't want to go too far because you don't want to shoot up on people, but just enough to make that foreground actually some interesting things happening there. And then maybe even then you could have lost the rope in there as well. But I don't know if this has been edited. It doesn't necessarily look like it has some post-processing on it. So I feel like you could kind of elevate this photo a little bit more if you brought in a little bit more of post-processing as far as enhancing your exposure a little bit, adding a little bit of contrast to give it some dimension, because it does feel a little flat as far as the editing goes. I feel like this could be a raw image. I don't know if it's necessarily a raw or not, but I feel like if we just kind of added a little bump of something to it, it would help this image out a lot. And you could have something to work with. You could crop in and work with it a little bit better.
Yeah. So if we look at the histogram, it does show that we can pull out quite a bit brighter.
Yeah, and that will kind of help with the white balance as well, because you can kind of see in his shoes, her shirt is pretty white, but we're shadowed and we're underexposed. The white balance is being shifted towards that blue, and it's more cool and not as warm. So if we kind of warm this up a little bit too, I think that can kind of help bring it up to the next level.
Yeah.
I think one thing that we all kind of talked about as well is this husband or the dad and the boy are smiling and they look like they're so happy to be there, and then the mom just looks like she was kind of maybe an afterthought kind of pushed into the picture, even from the way she's holding her hand down to the lack of smiling on her face. It just looks Like
Yeah,
she
she's very
doesn't.
pretty, but it's not as
Yeah,
uniform
yeah.
aesthetic. Yeah, it's a
And
very
if you were going for that, yeah, if you were going for that cool look, then we would have the son and the dad not smile as well. But I think having her being the only one not smiling just makes it look, I don't know, she just does not look happy to be there.
Well, that's hard too, because sometimes as moms we're really hard on ourselves, and
Right.
maybe she doesn't like her smile, maybe she doesn't like her teeth. I think she's a very pretty woman, so but we're not those people. We're not the ones with the insecurity. So it's our job as photographers to try to help give
Right.
your clients and your subjects that confidence, and to kind of help cue them into smiling and to being
Right.
comfortable. Which it's not always an easy job. So
Yeah,
and that just
absolutely.
comes with experience.
Yeah. And I think it could be cropped in a little bit as well. As I zoom in on the camera, or on the computer, this kind of a crop is even just, just getting rid of some of the empty space around.
I agree.
So, okay, we're gonna go from that one. So this one is Alana's. And I'm gonna let Alana talk about Alana's, because the reason we shared some of our own is we know they have flaws in them, and so we wanted to point out some of the things we would actually fix in our own photos. And then we'll let Jennilyn and talk about it too, but I want to start with Alana.
I liked this photo because of the light. I thought the light was really pretty. We hit it at a certain, perfect time of day. I like the backlight. I love backlighting. One thing I really specialize in. But I feel like the photo was ruined by one thing, maybe two things. Her hand placement, obviously. We talked about this earlier. I mean, it could be fixed with just a simple crop. And I don't know if I necessarily love the weeds in front of her, but they don't bother me too much. But anyway, so even though I've been shooting for years and years and years, you still, we talked about even doing like a horizontal, something like that, to kind of eliminate that. But even though I've been shooting, you just forget things like that. You're caught up in the moment, and like perfect, and I love the way it looks, and turn your head, and then and then the arm, like what the heck? How did I not notice that? So, anyways, thoughts on that, Jennilyn? What do you think?
I think it's a gorgeous image. I do agree with you that the hand placement and the bush could probably go. But overall, that light is amazing. I love the warmth that it has. And it's easy when you have pretty models too. Like it just, everything came together into a really pretty portrait. I just kind of worry a little bit if you do decide to crop in on this, if it's just been a little over sharpened, because when you crop in, those pixels are going to get a lot larger and easier to see. But overall, like I would rather over sharpen an image than to have it be too soft and look out of focus too. There is that as well, but I think it's a very gorgeous image. I love the soft lighting. Golden hour is one of my favorite times to shoot too. And it just makes for a pretty time of day, and then you don't get those harsh shadows, and I don't know, there's just so much you can do at that time of day, and I think you nailed it as far as the exposures and that backlighting. It's so pretty.
Thank you.
Well, I love if we talk about like the rule of thirds, and that's why I think even cropping it vertical wouldn't work as well, because I love, it's just like the perfectly placed composition, just where her head is, where her eyes are. Your eyes just rest right on that spot, right on that rule of third. Like it's absolutely perfect.
Yeah, perfectly on that.
Yeah. But I think if you went horizontal, you could still line it up a little bit. Like obviously her body is in that rule of thirds. But yeah, that's gorgeous. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. I love it. Lana's work is amazing.
Oh, you're so nice. Thank you.
Okay, so this one is Kaylyn's, or I always pronounce her name wrong. It's like Van Halen, but it's Kaylyn. It's not Kaylyn. And she makes me say it. She's one of my photographers as well. So, Jennilyn, do you want to start on this one?
Sure. I obviously specialize in weddings. I might have a lot to say about this, both good and just a couple things of constructive criticism. I do like where they are not centered, but that's okay in this because there is that dark where the waterfall comes down, where it's all been changed by nature. I do love that. I love how it does bring you into that circular motion. You are going around. The only hard part for me is that maybe this is hard too, because when you're working with nature, you want to keep the integrity of nature, and such as like this waterfall. But it's also very distracting that there's that green, metallic looking calcium. I don't know what that would be. I guess it would be more of a lime kind of thing. I would probably clone that out just because it's distracting and it kind of makes you stop. But that's nature's problem. That's not necessarily a photography issue. I do appreciate the editing on this though, because if you notice, we are shooting in some shade and some bright light. So I can appreciate that we probably expose this right in the middle. We're going to be exposing for not losing the highlights in the sunny part, but not also mudding up. Because when you bring up your exposure, you get muddy exposure if it's too dark, So I like that we've probably exposed this right in the middle and have been able to use post-processing to kind of bring everything into a nice balance. I do think there's a great balance here. I don't mind the hot spots on the edges, because I think the majority of the dress, you can still see all the detailing. If you get nitpicky, I would say you could probably dodge in some of those details if they're not too far gone, but that's kind of the hard thing, shooting in half sun, half shade. And as far as the composition goes, I always have my brides, you're going to pose, when you shift your body weight, you always want to bend the leg that is closest to the camera for multiple reasons. Mostly because it's more flattering on a bride to bend towards the camera versus bending away. Because once you bend away from the camera, you're going to start emphasizing hips, any kind of, midsection that we want to hide. So if she would have switched the footing on this so that her other leg came forward, it would have been more flattering for the bride. But overall, I do like the way that it all they flow together, their body language flows. And a lot of times when you're taking wedding portraits, there's like hands, like what do you do with hands? The hands placement here is perfect. I love it. It's simple and it's engaging and it flows really well. So overall, I really love this image and I appreciate the editing that went into it. And so I kind of feel a little nitpicky, but also in the same breath, specialize in weddings. Like I just want to make sure that like all the right angles are there. So my biggest thing about this photo is I would have just switched the legs. But overall, I think it's a very gorgeous shot.
Good job. Alana?
I agree with that. I agree with all that. I think what's really pretty about this photo is, I know it's not completely tack sharp, but it doesn't bother me just because of the wind and how it kind of has that feeling about it. I like that they both have their eyes closed. I know a lot of times, especially when people are just starting shooting weddings, they think they need to have the bride and groom smiling, looking at you. That's not going to capture the emotion in the image like that does. So it's got a lot of emotion to it. Anyways, it's pretty. It's a good job.
It's more artistic than standard. Yeah. I like it.
And those are the ones your clients end up loving.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
the grandmas not so much, but the clients, yeah.
Can we get one of them just looking and smiling? Yes, we'll do that. But this is what tells the story. Yeah.
Does his pocket or his thing here bother you, or is it? I mean, the motion, the motion.
Zoom in. I can't quite see. Oh yeah, there is that little flip, But then it's part of the.
Yeah, it fits with the motion of the image. That's
doesn't
why
bother me at all.
Yeah, I'm trying to decide if it actually bothers me or not because of the.
Again, if it was a pose where they were looking, smiling at the camera, definitely more of a pose. This is completely relaxed. The wind is hitting it. You kind of want to see that motion. So the flap up to me is just showing like more motion.
Right. Awesome. Good job. Okay.
Pretty.
This one is Alana's as well, and Alana actually had a point she wanted to bring up specifically about this one. So I'm going to let you talk about it.
I can't remember what my point was.
You said.
So I shot this with my 70 to 200. So I have a lot of bokeh in the background. But she really wanted an orchard and nothing was blooming. We couldn't find anything. So this literally is a tree with 2 branches. because we've softened it, because I softened it so much in the back and shot it with my 70-200 so that it's completely blurred out, it's giving the appearance that we're somewhere with a lot of flowers.
Yeah. The compression is great.
We literally have two.
Oh, frozen.
Anyway, well, I do love the compression on it, and that's what I do. Sometimes I love taking portraits with a 70-200, even though people just think, oh, but you don't need to be that far away. Like, why bother? Because that compression and getting that natural bokeh is sometimes it makes the money shot, and it really makes your client stand out. And yeah, like Alana was saying, you can kind of hide the fact of what's around you with compression like that.
Yeah.
You can shoot in any kind of area or situation that you want, but you do a pullback and you'd be like, oh, there's a weird building.
That's where you shot? Yeah.
There's distractions, but yeah, you can lose a lot of those distractions depending on the kind of compression that you get. So I think it's a great way to improvise on what your client needs or what you're looking for as an artist in your artistry. So I think it's great. And I love the fact that we can have different lenses and get different effects for different things and purposes. It's great.
Okay. Her expression is gorgeous too. Okay,
I just seem to get all the pretty people.
Those ugly ones go to other photographers. There are no ugly people. For real. I actually mean that. Okay, so this one is photographed by my niece. Her name is Allison. She submitted this one. And she's probably, how old is Aaliyah? Probably about the same age as Aaliyah. Yep. So my niece is 15, almost 16. So yeah, we had a couple younger artists submit.
Is she in the group?
She's not. I'm looking to see if she's
13,
in
almost 14.
13, almost 14. Yeah. So my niece is 15, almost 16. She's excited for the dating and the driving. But yeah, she's not in here. Who are we on next? Or should I start this one?
I think you should start this one since you're related.
Yeah. So composition-wise, I love that she didn't center the dandelion. I love that it's over here on just the side. It's a little bright right here, so my eye keeps bouncing back and forth between the dandelion, which is great, and then over here to the bright spot. But I even think if maybe she zoomed in a little bit and cropped in on it a little bit, so that rule of thirds spot, we probably have to go a little bit more. Right about there would lose that bright spot in the image. And
that would be easy to clone out that corner if you really wanted to.
Yeah, if that was all that was left, you could easily take care of that. But I love that she got kind of that same bokeh that Alana was talking about, where you can't quite tell. This is probably just some dirt patch. And she was able to give it enough bokeh, enough blur. I'm not sure what she shot this with. Should we look? Did I freeze? Am I okay?
You're good.
I'm just laughing at Blake, wondering if we should hurry and unmute him or not.
Oh.
He's got a lot going on that I'm curious about.
But it looks like she actually shot it at 7.1. We actually just saw her this weekend. I've been working with her on shooting in aperture priority and then working on shooting in shutter priority so that she can eventually work into full manual. So I was trying to see what she shot in. But
okay, if she's on 7.1, what lens did she use?
Looks like her kit lens, an 18-55.
Okay.
So, but that's pretty good for this kind of blur in the background at a
Yeah.
7.1.
Yeah.
I almost wonder if she opened up more, like if she would even get the whole dandelion.
Yeah. That's a pretty good kit lens.
Yeah.
I think what camera she's
It really
in.
is.
Well, that just kind of goes to show you, if you can figure out what you're doing yourself, it doesn't matter what equipment you're using. It makes your job easier, but
Right.
ultimately you're the artist, making your own rules.
This looks like a Nikon D5600. I'm not familiar with Nikon. I'm a Canon shooter. But yeah, so she saved up and saved up and saved up and got a camera. So, but yeah, I would, and then maybe even bumping the contrast a little bit just to make that dandelion pop. I love contrast. I absolutely love contrast.
Me too.
So, any other comments on that one?
Yeah,
It's a good little image. Yeah, she did a good job.
She'll be glad to hear that. So we are saving this, and I'm going to post it to my YouTube channel so that she'll get to see it, and everybody else, obviously. But okay, this one is Jennilyn's.
Woo!
So, do you want to start your own, Jennilyn? Do you want to critique your own? Not really.
I don't like talking about myself.
Just make a compliment sandwich.
Yeah. No, you guys can go for it. There are some things that I like to nitpick all of my stuff, and I probably get hard on myself a lot, but I do feel like I probably should have warmed up the whole image a little bit. She does look a little blue, especially where I'm doing an off-camera flash. If I just warmed it up just a smidgen. Her dress was very, very white, which nowadays is almost unheard of. Everyone has these off-white dresses. They're all really pretty, but her dress was like white. But, you know, it really just shows you that you need to always check your white balance, because it's easy to hide a little bit of your white balance problems in these cream dresses, these off-white and ivory dresses. But yeah, she was not going to let me get away with any white balance issues. So I probably would have warmed this up just a little bit more, or at least on her. I don't know, the sky could probably use a little warmth as well, but I don't know, this is actually a composite. So obviously I wasn't out there doing any light painting, anything like that, but I just wanted to make the sky pop with something just for fun, artsiness. So I just composited a night shot in there, but it was fun to do.
Cool. Aren't we our own worst critics, though?
Yeah, but see how Amber's just warmed that up just slightly? I feel like that just makes it just takes it to that other level where it just feels more inviting. I think, you know, when your white balance is too blue, it just kind of deters you, but bringing that bringing that warmth into it just kind of helps it just be a little bit more inviting.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
And I probably would have brought her flowers on the other side so we could have seen more flowers, because they're mostly, because I have one directional 45-degree lighting coming in at her. So if I would have brought her flowers out a little bit more, we probably could have hit that with some lighting.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, I nitpick everything.
Alana, do you have anything to add?
I think it's a beautiful image, but aren't we our own worst critics?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we are the hardest on ourselves, but I think it's gorgeous, and I did not know it was a composite, so that's a compliment to you. So I think it's beautiful.
I guess that is the point when you're doing a composite. You want to try to make it look as real as possible. Because you're not going to get sharp. I wish that you could make super sharp images like that. But even when you go out and do these night shots, these Milky Way shots, like, you're never going to get them tack sharp because the Earth is moving. You know, we're not going to. But I would like to be able to sharpen it up a little bit more, that make those edges a little bit more refined. But like I said, this is just me like fiddling around and trying to make something look artsy. I just wanted something artistic, and so I went with this.
I would print that on metal.
Yeah, it would make a really good metal print for sure. Anything's like with backlit, warm sun, sunset colors, all those kind of images are great on metal. They pop on metal. I love it.
What time of day did you shoot it? Like, how far after sunset did you shoot this?
Oh, geez. This was probably, I think we were probably 10 minutes out. We were actually on our way out. We were leaving. I had packed up everything and I hurried, and this was actually my old camera, because this is actually a few years old. This is my D800, and I used a speed light. So the old Nikons, you could actually use your speed light as its own infrared trigger.
Right.
So I just had her mom hold my speed light, and then I had an infrared shot on it. Like, this isn't a strobe or anything. This is just my external flash.
Yeah, that's what I figured. It was like an OCF type thing. So
yeah, I just had her mom stand there. So I was like, let's hurry, just do one more, because we had already been done. The sun had been down. We got some really good cotton candy skies before. But then we were on our way out, and I just looked behind me and I said, we have to do one more shot. And then so this was the result of that one more shot.
I love it.
Thank you. It's fun. It's fun to create art and fun things. Everything doesn't have to be smiley and happy. Like, I don't know, a lot of my work is actually a mixture of traditional and art. Just trying to do fun things.
It's gorgeous.
But yeah, if you were to be nitpicky again, you could probably ship Horizon Line over there. But that's being nitpicky.
Locked. Yeah. We'll just pretend I did that perfectly. Okay. Oh, this one is also Jennilyn's. Do you want Alana to start on this one? Or do you want to do it again?
I'm good. I'm done talking about myself.
No, I think it's a beautiful image. It's gorgeous. I mean, there's nothing I could say to critique it other than maybe bring in more detail of the dress, but I think you've done a really good job with that. It's not blown out. You haven't lost it that much. So it's beautiful.
That's hard when a bride shows up without a bouquet or anything to work with.
Oh, isn't that the truth? Yeah.
So we picked up her dress and said, okay, let's do this.
Yeah, and that's a good alternative right there. That's beautiful.
And actually, the one that I printed of this, I actually composited another image into it. I brought in a sky. Because sometimes it is nice to have that overcast looking blown out sky in the back, but she wanted one that we could pop. She wanted it to pop out a little bit more, so I have a copy of it. Hold on.
Well, I think one thing that I would maybe just bump the contrast a little bit. I'm such a contrasty shooter, but it makes it appear sharper as well. It gets rid of some of that haze.
I love contrast.
And this one is actually a metallic print. So once again, like you go sun, you can bring in, oh, it's going to be too reflective in this glass. But anyway, I brought in a little bit more of a purple style.
Oh, pretty.
It's subtle. It's very, very subtle.
Yeah.
Probably can't really tell, sorry, because there's glass in it. But that's the hard thing too. Like when you do composites, you want it to be very, very simple. You don't want it to be too crazy. But yeah, this is probably a better photo just because there's a little bit more contrast, a little bit more color.
Pretty.
Thank you. I appreciate your thoughts.
So I just added like a tiny little kick of just contrast a little bit.
Yeah. And we could probably clone out her tan lines too.
Yeah. But the problem is I'm looking at the contrast more. It does make you lose what little bits in the light in the sky that you do have.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's gorgeous. And composition's great. She's in the rule of thirds, yada, yada, yada. Good job. Yay.
Thanks.
This one.
Dun dun dun.
Dun dun dun. This one's mine. What's that?
Whose is this?
Whose is this? This is one of mine. And it's funny because this is the one that I was telling you, Jennilyn gave me a little bit of critique, and I was like, nuh-uh. But you have to, one thing we mentioned is if somebody notices it, then it is something that needs to be addressed because it's going to be hanging on a wall and you can't just describe it away or what's the word, like give it an excuse for the way it is. So
Right.
Jennilyn says there's a crotch shot and I was like, nuh-uh. But this girl, I'm pointing at my computer screen like you can see me point. This girl here is squatting, and once she says she's squatting in a dress, and I was like, nuh-uh, it's a jumper. But the point is that it was noticed, and it's something, if somebody's going to notice it, then other people are also going to notice it when it's hanging on a wall.
And especially when you blow it up.
Right,
If they
right,
were to blow this up big and hang it up on their wall, eye level,
right.
you know, you're going to notice it.
Yeah. And then the other thing that I should have edited out, and it would be and I still can, it's a really easy edit, it's just Mom did not want them sitting on the ground. So she's got the red blanket.
Red blanket.
Mm-hmm.
The light's awesome. It's sharp. Really pretty location. Super great depth of field. Yeah.
Yeah, that depth of field is gorgeous. I think, did we already decide what I shot this on? Was it my 70 to 200?
Yeah.
Or was it, no, my new 24 to 70. That was my first session with my 24 to 70. But yeah, that depth of field is gorgeous. The hard thing with that lens that I don't like versus the 70 to 200 is I was probably standing so much closer than I'm used to the subject. But it still did give a pretty good compression, but you start to get that, you know, that certain sweet spot on your lens, what, 50 millimeters is like your perfect portrait focal length. What was I shooting it at? 57, so there you go. But if I were to get any closer, I think you would start to see some distortion if I had to go wider.
Yeah.
But so when you're used to my 20, or when I'm used to the 20, oh my gosh, words, 70 to 200, it's so weird to have to actually physically get close to the subject, and it kind
You're
of
so
drives,
used to
yeah,
on the bus.
really drives me crazy. I'm like, so hi.
How you doing?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, it's a good shot. I do not love how many hands are going on here, because I don't know whose hands are whose.
Who's this who's, yeah.
Yeah. So I
There's just
probably,
one hand that's bugging me.
just this one right here.
Well, now that you pointed out, maybe that one too.
There's too many hands, Amber. You're so
I know, there's so many people in this picture, but I love, I love connection in a picture. I love when everybody in the picture needs to be touching somebody else in the picture.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I could
I
have
like
had
that too.
her drop her hand down and maybe put this hand on his arm.
Yeah,
So,
good photo. Yeah.
yeah, so we'll get out of that one. We'll just, whew, we're gonna skip that one for a minute. Because we need to we'll come back to it, I promise, but I want to get away from the ones that are ours. So this one is Kelly, and I don't think she's in the group right now. Whose turn is it?
I think it's Jennilyn's, isn't it?
Fine, I'll take it away.
Go for it.
I love this shot. I think it shows a lot of emotion. It's fun. The composition is great. I might crop in just a smidgen so they're perfectly centered, where there's going to be these three subjects that kind of have this roundness to them. I would probably immediately center it. But then I don't know, maybe not, because once that tree on the left is there, I don't know. Yeah, that still looks pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Would you get rid of the tree altogether, maybe?
I kind of like the story that it tells. It kind of frames that in a little bit. I don't know. But overall, I think it's great. I would probably just bump up the exposure on their skin tones a little bit more, just so that it's a little bit more bright, especially because you're going to have those hot spots on that second third.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be that brightness. So I think if you kind of bring them up, it will kind of hide and disguise that middle third a little bit more. So we just kind of bump up, at least on their faces. May not even do like a curves on this. I would probably just kind of dodge them out just a little bit. But overall, I think it's very cute, and the composition is great. Yep, see, I just dodged that a little bit. So then it kind of brings them back to the forefront, and I'm not getting that second, third highlight, yeah. But I love it. I do love how that tree frames in that left side, and there's a little bit of stuff going on the top, but not too much. That I feel like it just kind of frames them in. So yeah, I would just do that and crop that in just slightly, and I think you have a perfect little portrait.
Okay. Alana, you had a comment about it before too.
I was wondering even if she had them turn just the opposite way, what her light would look like. Because it looks like the direction of the light is coming from over there. If they're still in the shade and not in a filtered type light, I wonder if the light might be even better.
Oh, and you could have backlit them a little bit.
Or just have them turn around.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, so they're turning around, so they're shooting on the log, but from the other side. So
And then from this direction, there's some dumpy old dumpster, I'm sure, on this side.
that's probably true. But I love it. I think it's pretty.
Yeah.
It's a great little photo. Yeah.
I love their expressions. I can imagine mom saying like, this is exactly her personality, and this is exactly her personality, and this is exactly her personality.
Yeah. I think those are the things that trump all the other things. Because there's probably, I'm trying to see if the daughter on the far left, her right arm, I'm not sure where it's at or
I'm
what's going
guessing
on.
it's tucked into a sleeve is my guess.
Yeah, but I honestly, those are the things, like as long as you have the emotion and all that fun is there, you can kind of forget about the little nitpicky things because you're distracted by the emotions. You're distracted by the positives of the photo and not the negatives of the photo.
I almost want this small little piece either gone or I want more of them.
Yeah.
Because my eye keeps it so lit up that my eye comes here and then it hits this hot spot and then it hits this hot spot and then back over here. But I wonder if these could be leading lines if, I don't know.
Yeah, I actually kind of like it.
Yeah.
I agree.
I'm like, if there were more, I want like one more. It just looks like just one little.
Yeah, but that's nature, that's the hard part. Yeah, do you clone it out or do you keep it?
Right. Or clone another one. I would clone another one.
Yeah, because I do like how it just kind of frames everybody in there and then you're just focused on them.
Right. Okay.
But overall, great job.
Yeah. Still not going to do this one yet. Oh, this one is Aaliyah's.
I like this.
I love it.
Oh, wait. Let's see. There we go. There. Can you talk to us? Oh, She muted again. There you go. Can you hear us? Or I guess, can we hear you?
Maybe.
Maybe I'll unmute Chad too.
I can hear you, but sadly, Aaliyah and I are separated by 186 miles.
Aw.
So you can't smack her and tell her to talk? No, that's...
I can send her. Oh, there she is.
There she is. Let's unmute her again.
And sorry I keep calling you Blake, Chad. Just when your thing says Blake, I want to call you Blake.
I think I'm still on my son's account right now. Is the problem.
Yeah.
There we go.
I'll probably
Hi,
keep
Aaliyah.
calling you, so I apologize.
Hi, Aaliyah. How are you?
Good. How are
Good.
you?
Good job on this.
Thank you.
Let's see, Alana, do you want to... Oh, we lost Alana.
Well, no. Yeah, it's on.
Jennilyn, guess what? You're on.
All right, well, I'll take it. I think that overall this is a very, very beautiful shot. And this is one of those tricky things, like in that same wedding couple, it's kind of tricky when you've got different exposures that you're trying to, or different lighting situations that you're trying to keep the same exposure on. Because you want to keep the integrity of the sky behind the temple, but you also don't want to, you know, you're going to start losing details if you expose completely for that. You're going to lose these details in the front of the temple that are in the shadows. So I think you did a great job of like coming in between the two worlds. And then, so maybe just in post-processing, kind of either, you know, darken the sky a little bit again, but in this case, I'd probably just dodge the front of the temple just a little bit, just to kind of bring in some of that, the details back in. But overall, I think the composition on this is great. The way that you framed it in the photo, I think this is a really great job, and I probably wouldn't have thought that a 13, almost 14-year-old composed this. So great job.
Yeah.
Thank you.
One thing that I thought, whenever I take a temple shot, I always tend to get some curvature in the spires of the temple, and you didn't. Those are about as straight up and down as you can get, just because lenses are made round and the curvature in a lens. But so you've got like all of your lines are exactly or vertical.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's great. And I'm gonna see, I saw Alana jump back in. Let me unmute her. Oh, it won't let me. But yeah, no, and like a
But once you print this, I would probably see how she is.
But yeah, to even do like Jennilyn mentioned and just kind of brighten the front up a little bit.
And yeah, bring some contrast back
Yeah,
in.
because if we had gone and actually taken the whole image brighter,
Yeah, then you're gonna lose that sky.
yeah, then we lose the sky, and even some of the spires start to get
How about Aaliyah's picture?
a little too white here. So
And then I would do probably, I know that's hard when you have a building and you're capturing a building, but the little, the building off to the right, if I were to blow this up and frame this in my house, which I totally would, is this the Las Vegas temple?
Yeah.
Okay, so if I lived in Las Vegas or had gotten married there, or this temple is special to me, this is one that I would totally put in my house. I would just probably clone out or put something in over that other building to take, because it distracts you from the actual temple. But that's just something that you do in Photoshop just because it happened to be there. Nothing against, you know, taking the photo itself, that's a post-processing thing, but I think it's a gorgeous photo.
I wonder if you cropped it to like a, I don't know, 16 by 20, where that would put the building.
You
Yeah.
probably still get those things on the, oh, I see. And then you lose a lot of that sky too. I like that sky.
Yeah, the sky, even the mountain, just these little
Yeah,
mountains
yeah,
back
you lose all
here.
that.
It's just, it kind of takes your eye through the picture to go back into the back.
Yeah.
I personally wouldn't crop it. I would leave it as is,
Mm-hmm.
but like Jennilyn said, just kind of clone out that building on the right.
Right.
But I love right where she's put the building right in the photo, and it's awesome. It's a good photo.
Thank you.
Good job.
Good job.
Okay. I'm gonna come in here. I'm still not emotionally prepared to do this one. This is Jenny Springer, I think was her. I can't remember if it's Jenny. She's one of my clients. I can't remember if she goes by Jennilyn or Jenny. So now I'm making myself feel bad. Jennilyn, would you like to critique it, or should we do Alana? Because Alana got kicked out.
Yeah,
So.
Alana's back now.
I got kicked out. I don't know why, but I'm back. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, but we can't see you.
Oh, huh. Okay, sorry. I don't know why. Hang on, let me do my view options. I don't know. Oh, here we go. Allow. Okay, can you see me?
Is. Yep.
Okay. I don't know why I got kicked out, but anyways, I thought this photo it's fun. It's a fun photo, and I like the reflection. I don't know if it's necessarily super sharp. I can't tell from here. But I think a hard thing to do is to take a picture and have the sky not totally blown out. So I am impressed by the fact that the sky is not totally blown out, that there's still some color, and yeah, it's got something to it. So I think she did a really good job on that. It's a fun photo.
Yeah. Jennilyn and I kind of talked about the difference between, if it's just a fun, candid shot, it would be judged a little differently than if you're a professional dancer out on the lake. Because one of the things that I brought up was that his shirt here bothers me, but if it's just a candid shot and you're just out having fun and you're taking it for the memory more than the...
It's about capturing a moment,
right.
not the perfection.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, photojournalistically, say that.
Yeah.
Photojournalistically, I think this is a great shot. I would probably just crop in a little bit so that they're both centered within the photo.
Yeah, I would too.
You're not going to lose too much of that ripple if you crop in a little bit. You're still going to have it enough that it tells a story that there's movement. Yeah, as far as fine art, I wouldn't call this a fine art photo, but photojournalistically, I think it's got a lot of look rotated 180. Like very difficult. But yeah, I think as far as photojournalistically, this is a great shot to capture because there's that.
There you go.
Falling from the sky. No, it's really hard to sometimes capture a moment, and I think it might be a little bit more sharper if you were able to capture, if you were taking your time. But yeah, capturing a moment like this, I think it was a great job. And like you said, Alana, like keeping that sky, the integrity of the sky, and not keeping them dark. I think there's some awesome things going on here as far as that goes.
Yeah. I love that you can see the ripple. That kind of tells part of the story. Like it draws your eye back in. My eyes keep following the bubbles back into the picture. So the bubbles are making a little leading line of its own. I did like that.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
It's fun.
It's
No
fun.
doubt about it.
Yeah. And I think the camera was trying really hard to focus on the drops.
Yeah.
That's what I think, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But super cool.
Yeah.
I would hang that on my wall if that was me. I mean, that wouldn't be me because I couldn't do that.
I wouldn't look that good doing that.
Okay. Oh, and then this one is Rachel Beecher. And she's on here. I forgot. She was one of the first ones on. So, is it okay if I start this one?
Yes.
Go for it.
The newborn pro. I don't know anything. So
I can't do a newborn to save my life. So
I can't fairly critique this, so we're gonna leave this to you.
I can hold a newborn, but I can't take a picture of one. Okay.
I can give birth to one.
Right?
So the one thing that draws my eye and I guess it depends, like if this were a client shot, I do happen to know Rachel, and this is her baby, I believe. We did his newborns a while back ago, but so the red on the tractor, like my eye just keeps going to the red instead of to the baby's face, because your eye will look for things that are different in the image. So the tractor's all yellow except for that front, and my eyes keep going, did it get colored on? Or is that the actual? And so instead of me focusing on the baby, I'm worried about this red. So I would come in and Photoshop that into a yellow color just to match. You can kind of do a matching, turn it into a color. This time I did it for Jennilyn and I used my mouse. I'm not a mouse editor. But just you can come in and still keep the texture and still keep the integrity of the image and just maybe match the color to the tractor. And then the other thing that my eye keeps going up to is these hot spots here. They're not too bad, but the fact that it's lined up right with the little crown of his head just takes my eye again. Everything, all the attention is kind of coming out here along the outskirts of the picture instead of right into here. But the wrap is really good, and I know he's probably 3 or 4 months old. So to get a 3 or 4 month old asleep and wrapped and on a prop that's not like a soft cozy bed is an act of God. So good job on that. Like, that's a miracle. I might sharpen his face just a little bit. His eyelashes show, and his gorgeous little lips. I would just come in and maybe do a selective sharpening on that a little bit. And then the pillow that his head is on, I probably would have done something that looks a little more, I don't even know what the word is, like a layer with some texture that matches the color of the tractor a little bit, maybe some yellow or something like that. But other than that, it's gorgeous. Like, to get him wrapped and kept asleep and not have it look like a burrito. No, it's gorgeous. And then I might maybe would have just pulled back a little bit, just giving him a little more room in the image, because any crop you do from here is going to crop into him. You know, if you try to do an 8x10, well, especially if you do it the wrong, yeah, you're just going to lose too much of the image and make him look too tight in the picture. But other than that, it's really great. The exposure is really nice. There's maybe a titch of yellow color cast that's probably coming in from the tractor, but not enough because the blanket's still pretty white.
I do like that the baby looks creamy and kind of like flawless.
Yeah.
I do see where you would want some sharpness in those cute little details, but overall I like the creaminess of it. It's very pleasing.
I don't ever I don't like to over sharpen babies, their skin, but even just that much.
Yeah, that makes a difference. I think for me personally, I would zoom out because, I mean, we know it's a tractor, but I want to see, it might have the appearance of just an awkward prop.
Right.
I'm not getting the idea that it's a tractor. You know what I mean?
I think
obviously we know it's a tractor because we talked about it, but if maybe zoom out and show that prop.
Right. I think you see just enough of it to want to see more.
Yeah.
The facial details are going for a crop all the way in.
Right. So yeah, pulling out a little bit, and then maybe even a little, I think, was it Alana or Jennilyn that said maybe shooting from a higher angle?
Yeah, it's a good idea.
And that might.
But he's swaddled really, like he looks peaceful and beautiful and
I don't do this.
Oh, amen, sister. I cannot do babies at all.
No,
they make me sweat. Yeah.
This shoot, like, it would not look as good as this. So.
No. Right there with you.
You were like leaps and bounds ahead of me. I've been.
No.
There's just some things that some of us can and cannot do.
Right?
I'll stick with weddings. You guys stick with babies and families.
No.
Okay. And then, so I threw one in that was really old, but Alana and I were laughing because I just went to my downloads folder, and whatever had been downloaded off my galleries recently, I threw it in. And so this is actually, we're using this for a course we're doing. So he wanted some front lighting. So this is me bringing my alien bees out to the spiral jetty with weights, and it's windy, and the reason the dad's not in it is because he's holding my light from blowing away. And but I just wanted, it's that same, we've talked about it on a couple of different shots where you're so backlit that you have to bring something in to compensate for the backlight. But it kind of goes back to the time it took. We were rushing so quickly to just get the shot that there's a lot of things that I would go back and perfect. Like, I don't like how her hand is dangling here. He's holding his phone, but that's pretty much all we could get out of him.
Sometimes you have to just go with what's
exactly. Like I said, it doesn't stand out. It's not like, obnoxious.
Right. I think the fact that their clothing is so colorful and bright, it does help hide the phone a little bit. But I don't know, even just fixing her hair, obviously that was part of that wind and that motion, but just taking the time. We were really rushing, and just to keep him happy.
And then you had to center them between the posts a little bit more, so there wasn't a post coming out of that daughter on the left's head.
Right here. Yeah. Yep.
Or putting it
And maybe even,
positioning so it's in between the heads instead of right above.
Right.
well, and maybe brighten it up a little bit. It is really they are wearing really colorful clothes. Maybe the vibrance or the saturation just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's hard with saturation because it takes the skin tones into more of a red, but if you could just what did you just do to that? What did you just do?
It's an action that I bought, but I'll show you the before and after. It's just,
Oh yeah, it just kind of brings that little pop to it.
yeah, that's what it's
Yeah.
called, is color pop.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of helped do something to it.
Yeah. It adds a little bit of saturation and a little bit of contrast.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, so that's my critique of my image. I wish I could have had more time to take, but sometimes with kids you don't get time.
Yeah.
You get what you get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think this little boy, he's now, I think 6 or 7. He's on the autism spectrum. And so in hindsight, we were actually talking with Jennilyn about this the other day. Parents know that their kids most parents know that they're going to get what they're going to get when their kids are this age.
Yeah.
So, and it matches obviously her style. She styled the clothing, so in her home it matches her style and her aesthetics, and it's just who her family is, and she's really good at knowing that. She's a good client to just say that's who we are. So. Yeah. There we go. Are there any questions?
Is that it? We're done?
That's the last one. Does anybody have any questions before we hang up?
Hey, better unmute everybody.
I know, right? Or make it a little chat over here, and I can unmute you, or I can just unmute everybody. Here goes the craziness. Or not.
Yeah, don't everybody talk at once.
Right.
Right? Jeez.
And for those that joined, like Steph, I just see that it's called Steph's iPhone. I think if that's the one that we critiqued with the mom and the dad and the little boy against the fence.
Yeah, that was mine.
Okay, so we are recording the Zoom meeting, and I will post it so that you can see what we said.
Okay, I'm sorry I was late. My little guy was a handful.
No, you're totally fine. That's why we wanted to record it.
It's
It's impossible to get a time that works for everybody, so we recorded it and we'll post it so you can see what we said.
Perfect. Well, thank you. It was really nice listening to the rest of you guys talk about everyone else's photos, too.
It's a big learning experience to sit and listen to somebody take apart their own images. Well,
no matter how long you've been doing this, because I've been doing this for 13 years and I'm still learning and I still struggle with some things. Like, you think after 13 years you would have mastered something, and there's not. There's always different things that come up and arise, learning curves. And then especially as you start to expand, like the more that I do more outside of weddings, I'm like, oh wow, there's a whole world to open up here.
Yeah.
There's just always more to learn and always ways to improve. So I've learned a lot from this with everybody. So it's just.
I agree. Yeah, totally agree.
So there you have it. There is our image critique on a handful of images submitted by local artists here in Utah. Next time, I would love to see artists from farther away than Utah, including some of our local Utah artists. There are a lot of talented photographers out there, and it was very humbling to see your work and to know that you trusted us with critiquing your images. I hope that you learned a lot. I did, and I really enjoyed spending some time with Alana Lange and Jennilyn Proulx. And until next time, we will see you on our next image critique. Thank you.